Yeah, I had a few sniffles myself when I found this video. It's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. You know, these people knew nothing about each other. These two people coming off the street, these perfect strangers, had no idea about each other's families. They didn't know where they lived, how much money they made, where they went to work, how much education they had, which side of the tracks they happened to be from. They had no idea about their life at all. None. But somehow they made this connection. Somehow they made a connection. And I think it speaks to something deeper about us as humans. It speaks to something deeper about what and who we really are. Something beyond our mind's ability to evaluate and to blame and to construct and to decide that we know something about something we know nothing really about. It's beyond all that. And it's amazing that in these few moments in time, on a street in New York City, two perfect strangers got a glimpse of God. They got a glimpse of God. It really gives me pause and should give us pause to think about what the two words perfect stranger really mean, doesn't it? This idea of perfect stranger. But you see, we don't glimpse God in other people, especially people we don't know. We don't glimpse God at all. We see their flaws too often. We see what's wrong with them. We judge them for what they do or what they don't do or what they refuse to do. We have an expectation of what they should or shouldn't do, and they don't meet it, frankly. We don't trust others to be good. We see the negative. We don't think they love us enough or treat us the way we think they should. We don't like the way they live their lives. We judge them for what they worship and who they worship and how they live and the choices they make. We don't even like their rules or their policies or their laws and how other people treat other people. How they treat the children, how they treat teachers, how they treat immigrants, how they treat the elderly, how they treat the environment. Where we are fine judges of it all, aren't we? And the list goes on. And on top of that list, we look in the mirror and we see more flaws there too, don't we? We will never, ever live up, some of us, to the picture we paint in our minds about who we should be and how we should be and what we should be getting done. Oh, yes. And I'm here to tell you that is the law of love, my friends, because the law of love says you will love others the way you love yourself, and if you cannot do that simple thing, how can we expect to get a glimpse of God in other people? How is it possible? Unless we begin to love our own self, to get a glimpse of God in ourselves. You see, we like to work the law backwards. We like to work that law of love backwards. We just think, if someone would just notice all of the effort I made, if someone would just see some good in me, if someone could just love me enough, well, maybe then I could love myself. Maybe then just a little bit I could make myself feel worthy. If someone else would just show that to me from the outside. You see, we work the law backwards. We work the law backwards, and we find no gain in that. We find no solace in that. It doesn't work that way. We really need to find a way to honor the law of love by loving ourselves first. Well, Jesus had a lot to say in the Bible that was radical stuff. Jesus was a radical, I'm here to tell you. He was, and his teaching today is still radical. It still is off the charts. And we in Unity teach about Jesus as our master, teacher, and way shower. We don't think of him as the only Son of the living God. We teach Jesus as the master who said, hey, do what I do. Follow me. Pay attention here. I'm letting y'all in on these secrets that I know. All right? But sometimes we ignore those things. And some of them are so simple like this one that you might miss the depth of the wisdom in it. And he says this simply, I and the Father are one. The Father is in me, and I am in the Father. I mean, he was trying to tell us, we are God in expression. There's no separation. That we exist, and we could not even exist unless we are that. Already. Just by being alive. Just by being alive, we are that. He was trying to let us know. Well, I've been studying, in some of my studies, I've been reading the teachings of a Hindu monk called Swami Vivekananda, who wrote in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Around the same time Charles Fillmore was writing, by the way, and he has this to say about that. He says, "It cannot be that the soul knows, but it is knowledge. It cannot be that the soul is happy, it is happiness itself. That which is happy has borrowed its happiness. That which is knowledge has received its knowledge. And that which has relative existence has only a reflected existence." He for whom you have been seeking all over the world, for whom you have been weeping and praying in churches and temples, on whom you were looking as the mystery of all mysteries, shrouded in the clouds, is nearest of the near, is your own self, the reality of your life, body, and soul. God, you are. God, we are an expression. I want you to know that. I want you to know the God of you. I want you to feel the God of you coming through every pore of your being. I want you to really believe, really believe, that the same power and presence, the same infinite intelligence, the same creative idea and identity that is God right this minute, creating stars and galaxies in universes that we can't even see, that same energy is you. That same thing is you. It can't not be you. Filled with the same energy and possibility that is creating stars right now is you. So close your eyes for a minute and think about, let that be your thought in this moment, that God is breathing me. God is living me. God is living me. But we have this misconception. We have this misconception about how life is. You know, we strut around this planet that's swirling through the universe. By the way, I was thinking, we still think the sun rises and sun sets. The sun rises and it doesn't happen that way, does it? But we still call it that. It's like the illusion of being on this planet, like it's the center of everything. But we have this misconception that we're running around here getting things done and making things happen, that we have the next greatest idea for our life. And that's an illusion for us. We are naive to think that we could even take a breath separate from God. We cannot. Jesus tried to tell us this too. He tried to tell us this in the teaching. He said, "Who by your thinking can add a single hour to your life?" Who by your thinking can add a single hour to your life? Or in another translation, who by thinking can add a single cubit to your stature? A single inch to your height? He wasn't talking about growing an inch, and he wasn't talking about dying, really. He was trying to tell us, there is nothing that you do. There is nothing that we do. You don't make a perfect cake. You don't hit a perfect golf shot. You don't play a perfect piano piece or guitar piece or drum, percussion. You don't sing a perfect song. You don't put words together in an inspiring way. It is not you who does this. It is God. It is the energy and power and presence that is God working as me. That's the truth of it. It's the amazing truth of it. And our spiritual work is about getting out of the way of that. It's about trusting that that is the case and getting out of the way of that to release our judgments, to release our fears, to release our limitations, to release our poor meanness. Oh, poor me. To get it out of the way and to let that fearlessness that is the God of me come through freely. That's what our work is. So how do we do that? How could we possibly do that? Well, I believe that we've got to become one of the God mad. We've got to be mad after God. Like we have to see God everywhere and in everything all the time. We've got to see God in beauty and the amazingness of where we are and what we see with our eyes. We've got to see God everywhere and everything and every idea and every manifestation of every idea. Here's a story from the teachings of Vivekananda that I've been looking at. He says this: I know one whom the world used to call mad, and this was his answer. My friends, the whole world is a lunatic asylum. The whole world is a lunatic asylum. Some are mad after worldly love, some after name, some after fame, some after money, some after salvation and going to heaven. In this big lunatic asylum, I am also mad. I am mad after God. You are mad, and so am I. But I think my madness, after all, is the best. I am mad after God. And that means seeing God in everything. In everything. All the time. The simple things. As soon as you wake up in the morning, God, man. Looking for that. Believing it's there. And if you cannot see God somewhere, as is the case sometimes here living in the world, isn't it? Sometimes it's hard to see God in that unbelievable sorrow, of that horror, of that pain, of that just overwhelmingness. And there's a solution for that too. Simply turn it over to God. Turn it over to that power. Turn it over in your mind to that which is much greater. Turn it over and say, I cannot see you here. My vision is blurred. There's something in the way and I can't see. Take it from me. Let it be love. Let it be good. Let me know it as love. Turn it over. And if you are brave enough to live this way, if you are brave enough to begin to see God in everything, if you are wise enough to turn over that which you cannot see as good, as God, as love, then an amazing thing happens. You begin to reflect back to yourself the love that you see. You begin to love yourself. You begin to know the God of your being. You begin to feel it and know it. And you love yourself. Not for what you do, not for your accomplishments, but because of what you are. And you become madly in love with yourself, which enables you to love everything outside that is the same as you. So let's say together, God is living me. Together, God is living me. God is living me. Again, God is living me. God is sustaining me. God is sustaining me. Together, God is sustaining me. God is, I am. Together, God is, I am. And so it is.